Call Me Ted by Ted Turner. Summary and analysis by Brevreds. Introduction to Call Me Ted. In Call Me Ted, Ted Turner, the media mogul behind CNN and TBS, tells the story of his remarkable journey. It's not a traditional memoir but a series of life lessons woven through the incredible stories of building one of the world's biggest media empires from scratch. His tales are packed with grit, resilience, and innovation, providing insights not only into the mind of a man who changed media, but also into life strategies we can all use. From his rough start under a strict, demanding father to the world-shaping business moves he made, Ted's journey is about more than just business. It's about resilience, daring to dream big, and the relentless pursuit of goals. Chapter 1: Roots of Resilience. Ted Turner's story begins with a powerful and sometimes brutal life lesson. Resilience is born in adversity. Raised in a household with a father who believed in discipline above all else, Ted's formative years were intense. His father, Ed Turner, was a war veteran and a self-made man in the advertising industry, known for his drive and relentless pursuit of success. From a young age, Ed ingrained in Ted the idea that there was no room for failure. Life, Ed believed, was a series of challenges to be conquered, not moments to be enjoyed. Growing up under this philosophy wasn't easy, but it gave Ted an early lesson in the kind of tenacity he would later need to build an empire. Ted's father pushed him hard, setting strict rules and expecting Ted to follow them with no exceptions. Family outings were structured, discussions were direct, and even leisure time felt scheduled. When Ted failed to meet his father's expectations, he was often met with disappointment or anger, a response that taught Ted early on to either meet standards or find a way to handle the consequences. While it was difficult, this relentless structure also instilled a resilience in Ted that became a defining characteristic. Be a leader, not a follower, Ed would repeat often, creating a guiding principle for Ted that he carried with him for life. But there was a high price to pay for this upbringing. Ted's relationship with his father was complex. While he respected him deeply, he also yearned for a sense of freedom and individuality that wasn't allowed. In his teens, Ted was sent to military school, an experience that was both liberating and challenging. On one hand, it was a break from his father's constant oversight, but on the other, it was another strict environment where discipline was non-negotiable. Ted was an excellent student, one who quickly adapted to the rules and the structure, but he never lost his desire to eventually break out of such confines and do things his way. This desire for independence would shape much of his later success. When his father's life took a tragic turn, it was this resilience and drive that propelled Ted forward. Ed's billboard business was thriving, but the pressure of maintaining it had taken a toll. When Ted was just 24, his father took his own life, leaving Ted with the family business and the overwhelming responsibility of running it. For most people, this sudden thrust into leadership would be daunting, but for Ted, it was a call to action. He felt the weight of his father's legacy but also saw an opportunity to step out of his shadow and create something unique. Ted took over Turner Advertising and poured his energy into learning the business. He didn't just maintain what his father had built, he expanded it. Over the years, Ted transformed the small billboard company into a media empire, laying the foundation for what would become TBS and eventually CNN. His journey was not without challenges. The billboard business itself was demanding and competitive, but Ted found ways to innovate and grow. He expanded the business beyond billboards, looking at radio and television as new frontiers. The determination and resilience he had learned from his father and honed in military school became the tools he used to survive in a competitive and often cutthroat industry. Each new venture was a gamble, yet Ted embraced every risk with the same unyielding optimism. Even when others doubted his decisions, like his plan to start a 24-hour news network, Ted kept pushing. He understood that visionaries don't wait for others to catch up, they create the future themselves. This resilience and vision were the true foundation of his success. Key takeaway: embrace the challenges and learn to use adversity as a stepping stone. Life's difficulties can be transformative if you find ways to harness them for growth and change. Chapter 2: Building a Vision with CNN. When it came to creating CNN, Turner's biggest and boldest venture, he was up against incredible odds. At the time, news was something people watched at specific times of the day, morning and evening broadcasts. No one had ever imagined that people would want to tune in for news 24 hours a day. But Ted saw a different future. He imagined a world where people could access news as it happened, in real time, from anywhere in the world. His vision for CNN was ambitious, almost audacious for the time. He didn't just want to create a news channel, he wanted to change the way news was consumed and delivered. Starting CNN was far from easy. He was met with skepticism from investors, pushback from broadcasters, and logistical challenges that seemed insurmountable. Funding was one of the biggest obstacles. Most people didn't understand his vision and saw it as a pipe dream that would never attract enough viewers to be sustainable. But Ted knew that if he could just get people to experience it, they would see its value. He raised funds, took out loans, and invested his own money to bring CNN to life. It was a gamble that could have ruined him financially, but he was all in. The launch of CNN was a historic moment. Ted and his team scrambled to put everything in place, working day and night to ensure a smooth broadcast. The first day wasn't perfect. There were technical glitches, issues with scheduling, and an audience that didn't fully understand what they were watching. But Ted kept pushing forward. His motto was simple: start now, improve later. He was relentless, constantly iterating and refining until CNN became a trusted source for breaking news around the globe. CNN's success was not immediate, but over time, it gained traction. Major events, like the Gulf War, brought CNN into the limelight as people around the world tuned in to watch live coverage, often from the very front lines of conflict. Ted's vision had not only come to life but had reshaped the entire news industry. By the time competitors realized what he had created, CNN was an established brand, a household name that represented a new era in broadcasting. Key takeaway: pursue big ideas even when others don't believe in them. If you see a need in the world and have a vision for filling it, push forward despite the naysayers. True innovation requires resilience, courage, and a willingness to take risks. Chapter 3: Risk, Innovation, and TBS. Ted's success with CNN was transformative, but he wasn't one to rest on his laurels. Shortly after CNN began to gain traction, Ted turned his attention to another ambitious project: growing his entertainment network, Turner Broadcasting System (TBS). The idea behind TBS was just as groundbreaking as CNN. He wanted to create a superstation that would bring popular programming, movies, sports, and sitcoms into millions of American homes. At that time, the idea of a superstation was virtually unheard of. Television was dominated by the three major networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS. Cable television was new and still finding its footing, and there was a lot of skepticism about its future. But Ted Turner saw an opportunity. He was convinced that by bypassing the traditional broadcasting model and using satellites to transmit a station nationwide, he could create something revolutionary. For Turner, the logic was simple. If he could expand his reach, he could grow his audience, and with a larger audience came more advertising revenue. TBS was launched in the late 1970s, becoming one of the first national cable channels and instantly challenging the broadcasting giants. It was a channel built on risk and innovation, a vision Ted held onto when others thought it was impossible. He poured his energy into licensing deals, acquiring the rights to popular shows and movies, and securing broadcasting rights for sports, especially his beloved Atlanta Braves. Broadcasting baseball games on TBS was a huge success and helped bring millions of new fans to the Braves. For viewers who lived in areas without a local baseball team, TBS became a virtual home team station. Ted took pride in this, seeing it as more than just a business strategy. It was a way to bring people together, to give them something familiar and enjoyable, even if they didn't live near Atlanta. With the Braves games and a steady stream of classic movies and sitcoms, TBS started growing fast. Advertisers took notice, and TBS became a sought-after platform for brands looking to reach a new cable TV-savvy audience. Turner wasn't just broadcasting shows, he was crafting an experience for viewers that was both entertaining and familiar. And as he grew TBS, he did so with his signature style of leadership. Ted wasn't the type to manage from behind a desk. He was deeply involved in every aspect of the channel, from content acquisition to advertising sales. This hands-on approach made TBS feel less like a corporation and more like an extension of Ted's personality, bold, unfiltered, and a little rebellious. One notable episode in the early days of TBS was Turner's gamble to air unedited movies late at night. At a time when most broadcasters were cautious about showing content that could be controversial, Ted was willing to take the risk. figuring that adults who were up late might enjoy a bit of raw entertainment. It was a bold move that gave TBS a unique identity, one that was different from the polished, censored programming of the big networks. This freedom and willingness to experiment was one of Ted's trademarks. He didn't care much for rules if they stood in the way of progress. Key takeaway: don't be afraid to take risks and break the rules if it serves a greater vision. Sometimes innovation means ignoring what everyone else is doing and following your own path. Chapter 4: Wrestling with Failure, the MGM Acquisition. In the mid-1980s, Ted made a decision that nearly cost him everything. He purchased MGM. This wasn't just a business deal, it was a passion project for Ted. MGM represented the glamour and history of Hollywood, a legacy that Turner admired deeply. He was drawn to the studio's film library, which included classics like Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz. Owning such iconic films seemed like the ultimate achievement, a way to build TBS's content library and preserve a piece of American culture. But the deal was rushed and, as it turned out, overambitious. The acquisition cost $1.50 billion, and Turner quickly realized that it was more than he could handle. Financing the deal drained Turner Broadcasting's resources and put the company at serious financial risk. Almost overnight, Turner's empire was in jeopardy. He had to lay off employees and scramble to find ways to pay off the debt. Friends and advisors suggested that he sell parts of the company to stay afloat, but Ted was determined to hold on to MGM. When it became clear that the deal was unsustainable, Turner made the painful decision to sell back most of MGM's assets, keeping only the film library. It was a humbling experience for him, one that forced him to confront the limits of his own ambition. He had come face to face with failure, but rather than give up, he learned from it. Ted managed to salvage a valuable asset in the film library, which became a cornerstone of TBS's programming. Over time, these films helped establish TBS as a channel with cultural depth and appeal. The MGM deal was a reminder that even the boldest visionaries sometimes reach too far. But instead of seeing it as a loss, Ted saw it as a lesson in humility and resilience. He was bruised, but not defeated, and this experience only strengthened his resolve to keep pushing boundaries. He learned the importance of patience and due diligence, lessons he carried with him as he continued to build his media empire. Key takeaway: even when you fail, there are valuable lessons to be learned. Risk-taking is essential, but so is recognizing when you've overextended and finding ways to recover gracefully. Chapter 5: The Creation of TNT and the Love for Storytelling. With CNN and TBS thriving, Ted set his sights on another venture, the Turner Network Television TNT. Unlike CNN, which was all about real-time information, and TBS, which focused on a mix of sports and syndicated shows, TNT was designed to bring classic films and dramatic storytelling to a broad audience. Ted's love for storytelling was a key driver behind TNT, and he was passionate about showcasing movies that highlighted themes of courage, resilience, and triumph. In 1988, Turner launched TNT with a vision of creating a space where viewers could watch high-quality films without commercial interruptions. He believed that movies had the power to move people, to inspire them, and he wanted TNT to be a place where that magic could happen. For Turner, this was not just a business decision, it was personal. He wanted to celebrate stories that resonated with him, that spoke to universal human values. From the start, TNT featured a mix of original programming, classic films, and later, sports programming that included the NBA. One of Ted's favorite parts of working on TNT was the process of selecting films for the channel. He was hands-on, personally involved in curating the programming. For Ted, every film was more than just entertainment. It was a lesson, a way to connect with the audience on a deeper level. He once said, "People need to see heroes. They need to see examples of courage and strength." This vision for TNT was evident in its programming choices, which often highlighted characters overcoming adversity or fighting for what they believed in. TNT quickly gained a loyal audience, becoming known for its movies for guys who like movies branding in the 1990s. It wasn't just a slogan, it was a reflection of the type of content Turner loved and wanted to share with viewers. Ted's intuitive sense of what people would connect with was evident in TNT's success. He didn't rely on data or focus groups as much as he trusted his gut instinct, a trait that had served him well throughout his career. Key takeaway: pursue projects that reflect your passions and values. When you invest in something you believe in, it becomes more than just a business, it becomes a legacy. Chapter 6: Creating the Goodwill Games and Giving Back. After establishing his media empire, Ted felt a deep desire to give back, to create something that would benefit the world beyond his business ventures. The Cold War was in full swing, and Ted believed that sports could be a powerful tool for diplomacy. In 1986, he founded the Goodwill Games, an international sports competition intended to ease tensions between the US and the Soviet Union. The idea was simple but powerful: bring athletes from rival countries together to compete, fostering a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. Ted poured his heart and resources into the Goodwill Games. He traveled to Moscow to negotiate with Soviet officials and invested millions of his own money to make the event a reality. The games weren't just about sports, they were a statement against the political divisions of the time. Ted believed that people could find common ground through shared experiences, and that sports were a universal language everyone could understand. The first Goodwill Games, held in Moscow, were a success, showcasing world-class athletic talent and promoting an atmosphere of mutual respect. For Ted, the games were one of his proudest achievements, a reminder that business success isn't everything, it's what you do with that success that counts. The Goodwill Games continued to be held in various cities for several years, a testament to Ted's belief in the power of unity. Key takeaway: use your success to make a positive impact. Real legacy is built not just in what you achieve but in what you give back to the world. Chapter 7: Ted's Battle with Mental Health and Resilience. Amidst his relentless drive and public successes, Ted faced deeply personal battles with his mental health. By the late 1980s, he found himself struggling with the immense pressures he placed on himself, compounded by the strain of handling a media empire and constant scrutiny. While he rarely spoke openly about his vulnerabilities, Ted hinted in his book that mental health challenges were a part of his journey, just as much as his business accomplishments were. This period of Ted's life is a testament to his resilience. Despite feeling overwhelmed, he kept pushing forward, relying on a few simple strategies that kept him grounded. For Ted, physical activity played a significant role in managing stress. He was an avid outdoorsman, often spending time on his ranches, where he could connect with nature, clear his head, and find a sense of peace that wasn't available in boardrooms or at TV studios. Hiking, fishing, and even practicing archery became ways for him to decompress. Ted also valued close friendships and would often lean on trusted confidants to get through rough patches. Some of these relationships helped him gain perspective, offering advice or simply providing a listening ear. There were also times he turned to humor as a way of handling stress. Those who knew him remember his ability to laugh at even the most chaotic situations. His challenges with mental health and the stigma around it are an important part of his legacy, showing that resilience isn't about never struggling but rather about finding ways to keep moving forward even when life feels overwhelming. Ted's openness on this subject sheds light on the fact that even the most successful people face doubts and challenges, and sometimes acknowledging those struggles is part of the solution. Key takeaway: resilience means not just working hard but finding ways to take care of yourself. When stress becomes overwhelming, stepping back and leaning on support can make all the difference. Chapter 8: Environmental Advocacy and the Birth of Turner's Ranches. Alongside his business achievements, Ted became passionate about environmental conservation. Having grown up in nature, he always held a deep respect for the outdoors, and by the time his businesses were flourishing, he wanted to give back to the planet. This became a personal mission, transforming him from a media mogul into an environmental advocate. One of Ted's first major environmental initiatives was to purchase large areas of land that he could conserve. He bought massive ranches in Montana, New Mexico, and other areas, with the vision of protecting them from development. Ted's ranches were not just investments. They were part of his plan to preserve natural habitats for future generations. He actively worked to restore ecosystems, introducing native species like the bison back onto his land. He believed that conserving land and protecting biodiversity was a responsibility for anyone with the means to do so. Ted's approach to conservation was hands-on. He personally oversaw projects on his ranches, focusing on sustainable practices, responsible ranching, and restoring the balance of natural life. His commitment went beyond his own properties. He founded the Turner Endangered Species Fund, an organization dedicated to the preservation of endangered species and their habitats. Through this fund, He contributed to the preservation of species like the black-footed ferret and the red-cockaded woodpecker, both of which were at risk of extinction. In 1997, he donated $1 billion to the United Nations, creating the United Nations Foundation, which supported global initiatives for environmental sustainability, public health, and poverty reduction. This was the largest single philanthropic donation at the time, and it further cemented Ted's commitment to making a lasting impact beyond his corporate interests. Ted's environmental work showed that one person could make a difference on a global scale. He urged others in positions of influence to think about the impact they could have, not just for profit but for the world at large. His journey from businessman to environmentalist serves as an inspiring example of how success can be used as a force for good. Key takeaway: real success isn't just about personal achievement, it's about giving back. We all have a responsibility to protect the planet, and even small actions can contribute to a larger change. Chapter 9. The Rise of Cartoon Network and Ted's Love for Creativity. In the early 1990s, Ted embarked on another groundbreaking venture, the launch of Cartoon Network. This idea came from his unique combination of business acumen and a deep appreciation for creativity and entertainment. He saw that most cable channels catered to adults, while children's programming was limited to specific hours on major networks. So he decided to fill the gap with an entire channel dedicated to cartoons, giving kids and families a place to enjoy animated content 24/7. The launch of Cartoon Network in 1992 was a massive success. Ted's approach was to combine classic cartoons with original programming, creating a mix that appealed to viewers of all ages. Shows like The Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, and Looney Tunes became a staple of the network, while new, edgier shows like Dexter's Laboratory and the Powerpuff Girls attracted a new generation of fans. Ted's love for storytelling came through in his desire to give animators a platform to showcase their creativity and reach a global audience. This move was a testament to Ted's creative instincts. He wasn't just launching a TV channel, he was fostering a culture of creativity and innovation. Cartoon Network became a pioneer in animation, setting the stage for some of the most iconic animated series of the 90s and early 2000s. Ted's willingness to take risks and invest in creative talent made Cartoon Network a success and helped shape a new era in children's television. The network also showed Ted's belief in the power of fun and entertainment. He saw value in lighthearted content and believed that everyone, no matter their age, could benefit from a bit of laughter and nostalgia. For Ted, it was about more than just business. It was a chance to bring joy to millions of viewers and to create a legacy that would be remembered fondly by generations. Key takeaway: embrace creativity and take risks to bring new ideas to life. Sometimes, filling a gap in the market requires seeing things from a different perspective and daring to go against the norm. Chapter 10. Building the Ted Turner Legacy. As the years went on, Ted Turner continued to grow his influence in the media industry, environmental conservation, and philanthropy. His name became synonymous with groundbreaking achievements, from the creation of CNN to his work with endangered species. Ted's legacy wasn't confined to his business accomplishments. It extended to his impact on society and his dedication to leaving the world a better place than he found it. Throughout his career, Ted faced numerous challenges, made bold decisions, and encountered plenty of setbacks. But he remained steadfast in his belief that success was about more than profit. He used his platform and wealth to promote causes that mattered to him, whether that meant creating a new kind of media or supporting environmental and humanitarian efforts. For Ted, success meant having a purpose and following it with passion, even when the odds were against him. Ted's life is a lesson in resilience, courage, and vision. He was never content with the status quo and constantly pushed boundaries to make his ideas a reality. And while he faced his share of personal and professional struggles, he remained committed to his ideals, showing that true success is about staying true to oneself and one's beliefs. Final takeaway for the reader: finding your own path to purpose. At the end of the day, Ted Turner's life is about the power of vision and persistence. He never stopped moving forward, whether he was building a media empire, fighting for environmental conservation, or starting the Goodwill Games. His journey is a reminder that each of us has the power to make a difference in our own way, no matter how big or small. If there's one thing Ted would encourage, it's to find your own purpose. Ask yourself what drives you, what impact you want to make, and where your passions lie. Don't be afraid to take risks, and remember that failure is just another part of the journey. Like Ted, embrace the unexpected and look for ways to give back along the way. By following your own unique path, you can create a life that's not only successful but truly meaningful. Thank you for completing another BrevRead video. Like and subscribe to see more of our videos. If you have a particular book that you would like us to summarize, please